You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Leftist lies and globalists, I'm pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big guns creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Freedom's calling. Leftist judges twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Storms, I've walked the line, 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air, my voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall, sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight, torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising and hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk Bobcat rolls will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from North Idaho in an actual free state. And welcome. I am this guy, as illustrated before. I am your conservative Sherpa, guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, bedlam, and betrayal. And just remember, what you're about to hear for the next 2 hours consists of my opinions, my opinion only, and those of my guest tonight. I am doing the job that the American media maggots refuse to do. I am fundamentally changing America, one leftist diaper at a time, indicating that we don't do... Wait a minute. Where's my mug? It's not on the desk. Producer. Oh, that's right. I have only me to blame. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We're still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, if I had one to show you right now, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, clarity, and common sense for normal people. And the things we talk about here in the saloon include politics, religion, crime, culture, race, sex, economics, science, law. We talk about it all right here in the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. Now, I have a great guest for tonight, and we're going to be talking about this in general. The explosion of hypocrisy everywhere. And my co-host tonight is Lyall Armstrong. He of Beer and Bullstein. Now, you could call it Bullstein, but it would be more appropriately pronounced Bullstein, as I believe he does. We're going to be talking about an update here. I will have one of these. We're going to be talking about some of this, and it all comes together under the label of hypocrisy. But first, the act you've known for all these years. Let's welcome Lyall Armstrong to the show. And Lyall, good evening, sir.
Thank you, brother. How are you doing?
I am doing fabulous. Now, beforehand, sometimes the front of the show before it goes on is even more interesting than the shit that happens during the show itself. And Lyall jumped on about 7 o'clock, about an hour ago, because right now it's 8:07 Pacific, 10:07 Central, and 11:07 on the eastern area, the seaboard, where, by the way, Lyall is right now. Let's see if I'm pointing the right direction. Yeah, because it's backwards. Lyall is over there.
Something like that.
And we were talking about all kinds of good stuff, blues, music. I did not know that Lyall is educated in all sorts of musical, musicral, musicral, I spelled it appropriately, instrumentalities, piano, guitar, bass, viola, sousaphone, triangle, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and more. Just ask him. And then we were comparing some of our, because he's a Pink Floyd fanatic, I just discovered. And I had told him that I'd seen Pink Floyd twice.
And I'm jealous.
Once in, as best I can figure out, 70 or 71. And then the second time during their Wish You Were Here tour. We're talking about how the sum of all of them was just much better than they were individually, kind of like the Beatles. We were talking about all sorts of stuff. We're talking about Omar Dykes, Omar and the Howlers. We're talking about ZZ Top, Vincent Price blues, slow blues, because this dude right here does blues. And I listened to him play a cut for me of him doing blues on guitar. And I thought, yeah. Like I told him before. Fuck. Thanks. Okay. He can't hear. So I didn't want to tell you how damn good he sounds, because it's going to make it so that he can't get through his own studio door. So, and I never said that. And by the way, Lyall, how's the weather? Where are you where you are right now?
It's damn cold.
Oh, hot. Damn hot.
No, it's cold. It's warming up. It's starting to get there, but we haven't got that whiff of, that smell in the air where you're like spring.
Ooh.
We haven't gotten that yet. But
Leonard Skinner, that smell.
That smell. Ooh, that smell.
I wish I could say that I had seen Leonard Skinner live, but I had not, sadly. Also, equally sadly, I've seen Neil Young live.
Oh God. Same.
But that was back in the 70s when I saw him with Crazy Horse. And Crazy Horse, four guys, just really basic. Crazy Horse, if you never got to see Crazy Horse before Neil Young went stupid, Crazy Horse was heavy, pounding. Damn, they were good. But since then, NSM, not so much. Anyway,
Speaking of Neil's, funny story. I actually have a piece of equipment in my guitar gear that it was made for me by Hadley Hockensmith, who is Neil Diamond's guitar player.
really?
Yeah, it's
Very nice.
It's a beautiful piece of equipment that goes with my my amp modelers that just makes the magic happen, and just beautiful piece of equipment.
Well, since we were talking about it, and I don't know, maybe I'll put you on the spot, maybe sort of, oh, by the way, stop, everybody. Mikhail, stop. By the way, I am wearing the Ever of Common Sense t-shirt for tonight. And the reason I'm wearing that is because the Ever of Common Sense will be on tomorrow night, Friday at 6 p.m. And I'll let, the Ever is a great dude. And I'll be promoting all the SHR shows a little bit later. But while I'm saying this, I also mean to ask, hey, Lyall Armstrong, you're on tomorrow night and you're on Saturday night. So tell folks where you can be found, what time, all that kind of good stuff.
Can be found right here on YouTube, SHR Media, all the good places that we're going. I'm on X at Lyall_Armstrong. Tomorrow night, we're actually going to be speaking about kind of the hypocrisy as well. Are we living under the Constitution? Or are we living under the 10 pillars of communism? So tune in. It's actually going to be kind of an interesting conversation.
I would like to. So, folks, right there, Beer and Bullstein, Beer und Bullstein on the SHR Media Network. And again, welcome to everybody listening live, listening in podcast. Okay, at the break, I'm going to go get my vodka, which is out on the window right there, getting really, really cold because it's really cold outside. It was snowing, and then now it's raining. And then when I want to keep my vodka cold, I put it on the windowsill, and I leave my window open during winter. That's how kind of wacky and weird I am. Before we go any further, one thing I do want to do, I acknowledge this to those who tuned in Tuesday night and expected a 2-hour extravaganza. I apologize. My shoulder was absolutely yelling at me. It was screaming at high decibels. So I made maybe an hour, 15 minutes, something like that. And I just had to close that sucker down because the dude was not feeling well at all. And there was nothing that was going to be able to relieve that pain at that point. So I apologize for the short show. But in the process of doing that, I also wanted to acknowledge this. And I want to acknowledge the sacrifice made by the men and women so far in Operation Epic Fury. And I also want to offer an acknowledgement to the 6 individuals who were killed in that KC-135 crash. And I use, I talk about my own KC-135 stuff later on in the show. And, that's just for fun. But there is a cost to everything. This is the cost. This is the cost. And I just want to remind everyone that if it weren't for people like this and or prepare to be embarrassed, Lyall Armstrong, who served in 2 services, I believe, the U.S. Army and the United States Air Force, we'd be in a shit ton of trouble right now these days. So my acknowledgement to the sacrifices and to the people and to the rest of you assholes who, how about just rooting for America for a change instead of deciding that you're not going to? It would be such a unique difference that I would absolutely love to see. So before I get going with anything, I customarily have the carousel of amusing GURP. I still don't have any music to play.
I think your mic has gone away there, BZ.
The what? Something went away? You can't hear me? Oh God, please. How about everybody in the chat room? Can you guys hear in the chat? Just let me know in a comment down there if you can hear. Because otherwise, I'm looking at chat, I'm monitoring chat, and I'm going to play a bit of the carousel of amusing GURP, and then I'll monitor the chat room. You can hear me. Okay. Then I'll put this up because this isn't another Mossad video that I just recently acquired, and it's worth playing. Mark Carney from Canada, folks. Let's hear applause for Mark Carney from Canada, who has decided that he's going to be in lockstep with the Mujahideen, shall we say. Also, I'm going to make one comment and one comment each on each of these things. And you may or may not be able to see this. It turns out that it's like, okay, where's the Nancy Grace update? And the update is there is no update on Nancy Grace. And just as probably a lot of you suspected, the kid who was in Spain and then ended up, well, they found his body today, not far from the club that he frequented there on spring break. And it turns out that perhaps it looks like a kid got drunk or stoned at a club and he fell in the water and he passed away. There's no more information than that I have right now. The other thing I want to put up is this. Some of you may disagree with me, and that's cool. That's all right. The point of this is, and I have a reason for saying this, is I thought that President Trump's remarks to the Japanese PM today, Sanae Takaichi, about Pearl Harbor was just mostly crass and completely uncalled for. I thought, and I wrote in social media, basically, that's a stupid fucking move, President Trump. And to me, it was unfucking funny. And there's people may be saying right now, oh, BZ, you're just being so sensitive. I'm not so sure. There's a reason that I decided to say that, and that's this. We have something that we haven't had in Japan in quite some time. Sanae Takaichi is a major anti-Islam prime minister as opposed to whoever there was before. And she has made it part and parcel of her regime to eliminate, if they can, Islam, because Islam belongs with no Western or civilized country or area at all. They are a barbaric death cult. And the reason you're looking at this, and the reason I made that comment, is because, listen to this. You'll have to look at the translation, though. So through a cartoon, essentially Japan is saying what we should have been saying years ago. Well, a lot of people are coming around now. A lot of civilizations are coming around. Hungary was already coming around. Poland was already coming around, eschewed Gesundheit by the EU as they were. But Islam, and I'm going to do a show, a 2-hour show sometime when I can get my brain together sufficiently and show everybody and illustrate why it is that Islam belongs nowhere in a civilized society. And I completely, 100% fervently believe in that. Now, if you look at some of my social media earlier today, I put out a post that said something about location. That's what realtors believe in. In this instance, however, location also includes places that maybe you were but shouldn't have been. Go.
Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
Oopsie. The dude is broadcasting for RT, Russian Times. But still, that was pretty exciting.
Fuck.
No kidding. So as I said before, location. Sometimes you're in spots you really shouldn't have been. That was one of those times. Phew. Okay. So let's bring Lyall back. And Lyall, how are you doing? Can you hear me now? Lyall, testing 1, 2, 3. Apparently not. Okay. So let me remove Lyall for a little bit because that's okay. Guessing that's a no. Yeah. So anyway, while I'm doing that, I wanted to, this will give me a perfect amount of time to do this. And I'm going to go into a little bit of a big, beautiful soliloquy. And first I wanted to talk about, because it's that point in the show when I refer to this. Here are some Epic Fury updates. You're next, Ayatollah. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a history of Iran, because I happen to live through it in, 47, 48 years ago. So Iran, up to about 1979, had a series of monarchies coming into power in the 1920s. And it built a fairly close relationship with the West. Iran turned out to be one of the two kind of big supports in the Middle East of the West and the United States, along with Saudi Arabia. And remember, this is before Israel became a state in 1948. So Saudi Arabia and Iran were a bit of a U.S. proxy power at the time in the Middle East. But with the Iranian Revolution of 1979, that blew up, kind of literally. And I was around then. I can remember experiencing the tensions of those times. And I can distinctly remembering, because I was already in law enforcement, I thought, I'd be ripe for the plucking, would I not? I can remember wondering if I was going to get conscripted into that potential war. Because I had somehow, well, that's a story for another time, and I've told it before. I should have been in Vietnam, but was not. Ended up spending 41 and a half, almost 42 years in law enforcement. But going back, the U.S. and the Shah, the king of Iran, who was Reza Pahlavi, they were close prior under Nixon and Kissinger. And that dates, that's during the 70s, appropriately so. So what happened is the Shah wanted to modernize the country a little bit as Persia. And they reflected some modern Western values in things like dress and some customs, etc. And as a result, Iran had some pretty big economic growth. They became wealthier, a little bit more European. They wanted free elections and free press. But the dealio with that is not all of the social interactions came up with that. It didn't really all match up. The Shah was all about, hey, let's have some cool air conditioning, literally. Let's have some great plumbing. Let's have some high-rise buildings, especially around Tehran. Let's have some refrigerators. But the people decided if they got some of these things, then we also want democracy. And as far as a lot of people were concerned at the time, that was a little bit of a bridge too far. So that yielded pretty fast economic growth, like I said, but the politics weren't together. And the unhappiness about not reaching a democracy didn't sit well with a portion of the Iranians. And then a lot of multiple different forces came into play. Islam, obviously, yes, but not just Islam. And so with all the confusion and the chaos that was involved in that, Islam does what it customarily does, is it decided that it was going to take advantage and dominate everything at the end because it could, and that's what it does. And why, again, I always recommend read the strong, if you want to understand the Middle Eastern version of Islam, read The Strong Horse by Lee Smith. I'm not getting any money for that. It's just one of the best books I've read, along with the Closed Circle by David Price Jones. Always recommend those two. And so what happened is what Iranians and what Muslims considered to be the three pillars took over. And the first one was definitely independence from the West. And the second one is we are declaring hostility towards Israel because Israel contains those evil Jews, and because Israel was too westernized, too U.S. aligned like that. And the third pillar was, okay, now that we're here and we're installed, we're going to make sure that we export the Muslim revolution to the rest of the world. And now, also, this is an important point because of this. You got to understand that Saudi Arabia is Sunni. 85% of the Muslim world is Sunni. And countries like Iran, Bahrain, and I believe Iraq, they are not. They are Shia. And the Shia are the minority, which is why Saudi Arabia and Iran never historically have ever seen eye to eye. So the post-revolution Iran, 1979 and later, couldn't afford to let any one of those three foundational legs fold or collapse, like independence from the West. We hate Israel, and we're going to export all of this terror all over everywhere through the world. And so Iran at that time kept telling their people that, yeah, okay, we're going to terrorize and oppress you and maybe even kill you, but only because you fail to realize that we're keeping you safe from Israel and the evil United States and also evil Western thought. So the question becomes, how do you negotiate with that? All sorts of presidents in the past have tried to negotiate with that. If you're stupid, if you're ignorant, if you're naive, if you refuse to believe what Iran says to your face, if you don't realize historically that Iran has essentially never once kept its word with anyone over anything, like, Barack Hussein Obama, for example. Sure, you can cave, you can give in, you can send billions of dollars in cash in the dark of night in the back of a C-17 because it's all so wide and so heavy that anything less than a C-17 wouldn't do to transport it. Okay? Hoping to buy them off. That was the point. Let's try to see if we can negotiate with Iran by buying them off. And they don't do that. And the bulk of that cash, I hope you're sitting down, oddly enough, came boomeranging back to Western nations and to Israel and the US and Europe in the form of multiple terror attacks and soldiers killed and civilians killed. So the acquisition of a nuclear weapon with Iran already being in possession of, I think it was 800 to 972 pounds of 60% enriched uranium, which you could make 10 nuclear weapons for pretty readily. And of course, we know Iran has a ton of missiles, as we've witnessed. Okay. So a nuclear Iran was going to be the icing on the Muslim Middle Eastern cake because, of course, we know there isn't anything that Iran has that Iran won't use. And then after that, after the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel, I believe that was 2023, Israel wasn't interested in being conciliatory. And of course, certain people said, well, there's no real existential threat for any of that crap. To which I think predominantly I'd have to say, and you'd agree with me, bullshit.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl here. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic women who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. I'm nationwide. I'm very wide. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Hey, thanks for being here tonight. Everyone, you, and the person sitting behind you eyeing your ice cream. You know they want it. Your dog wants it. Your cat wants it. Everyone wants it because they're all screaming for ice cream. Today, by the way, as the banner indicates, it is Thursday night. You're in the saloon. It is March 19th, the year of our Lord, 2026. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, let's try and put Lyall back in there. What do you think, sir? Can you hear? Okay. Now I can't hear you. Son of a... Okay, the channel is open. The pod is open. Okay. Oh, wait 1 minute. Okay, tell you what. I'm going to remove you and go over something that I wanted to go over with regard to Iran while we're waiting. I mentioned a little bit of the history of Iran in the first half hour. And I want to give a little bit of an update as to what I think is happening. And the war in Iran, Iran was never an existential threat. It was a proxy for killing everybody. It was a proxy for killing as many Westerners as possible. Now, a lot of the Muslims are saying that, you need to stop that crap. Especially the Saudis are saying this because now you're hurting fellow Muslims. But it's the domino effect. Iran isn't just a country. And yeah, it's a conflict right now with the U.S., and it should have been so earlier. But Iran is a laundromat, and it's a bank, and it's a recipient of all kinds of cash from everywhere, China, Russia, etc. Basically, Iran is just like a machine that funds all sort of kind of crazy stuff. So since 1979, since that regime change, they've been the biggest financier of terrorism in the Middle East. So Hezbollah is affected. Hamas is affected. The Houthis are affected. Iraqi militias are affected. Syrian militias also are affected. The whole network is interwoven in such a fashion that Iran helps to fund all of these things. And the biggest problem, as far as Muslims are concerned, is when Iran dies, then all of this funding stops. And that, like the Democrats and the SAVE Act, is absolutely a damn bridge too far as they're concerned. Let's put Lyall back in. I see Lyall smiling.
Thank you, Jesus.
Lord Almighty. Well, thanks for being back. Hey, no big deal. We still got a ton of show to go. I want to mention this to you, and I'm glad you came back at this perfect time. Because one of the other things, let me see if I can find the media for this. I'll put this up, and yeah, there it is right there.
Ooh, those are pretty.
So the deal with these is, and the thing that a lot of people need to realize is that Iran has access to a ton of really cheap, well, cheap is relative, $30,000 or so, right around in there. They have access to a bunch of relatively cheap long-range drones. These things, some of them can strike within 2,000 kilometers. That's 1,243 miles, for those of you who are not keen on the metric system. And so what has happened because of their ability to reach out and touch someone is that warplanes and some carrier groups have been pushed about another 1,000 miles away or so. And you have to remember, let's go back and recall that 70% of the casualties in the Ukraine war have been caused by drones. Okay. Now, Swarmer, there's a company called Swarmer. They just had an IPO. And I am guessing that you're going to become fairly familiar with Swarmer in the not too distant future, because that company, that software, allows one pilot to control dozens or even hundreds of drones simultaneously. You also have to remember, folks, that because of this technology, some of these drones can figure things out themselves, like in order to reacquire and reprioritize different targets. Okay, this one is gone. Let's go over here. And then they all do it together because it is like Borg. They were all assimilated. Drones have made the battlefield basically so fully transparent to the point that anything that moves, as you've seen in Ukraine, can be at risk. So ships, for example, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, ships in the Strait of Hormuz can be acquired by autonomous underwater drones, by suicide-type jet skis, anti-ship missiles, and long-range drones, the ones that I was talking about that I had up on the screen here for a second. That's just a sampling of what Iran has access to. As a matter of fact, the first U.S. soldiers were killed at a secure site by an Iranian drone. I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
I was going to say every single one of those looks very familiar too. Those are all cheap knockoffs of stuff we've used.
Yeah. And you know, General Atomics, for example, who will be a new sponsor. I just let the cat out of the bag next week on the show. They had the Reaper drone and the Predator drone created by General Atomics. So, you know, by land, by sea, by air, cheaper military drones, singularly or in massive packs, because you can do that. You can coordinate all that stuff. Can now hit essentially billion-dollar ships and military infrastructure targets, you know, on military areas across from the pond. But think this as well. They can also hit kids shit like water treatment plants, like transformer stations, like AI facilities, like petroleum refineries, like gas storage, and like electric power stations. You know, the stuff we have right here in the United States. And so having worked with what you worked with, and you were in the Air Force and you were also in the Army, my guess, Lyall Armstrong, is that you have also worked with drones in some fashion and would have some insight about some of this stuff.
We were, as I was getting out, we're starting to get our own drones in EOD, where we would actually have to become licensed pilots to use them. So we have our own little not so quite as big as those, but on the battlefield we did have a whole bunch of drones looking over us, watching out for us, sometimes erasing some people for us, you know, delivering a little unhealth care,
so to speak.
so to speak. I actually used a drone once to take out a VBID, a vehicle-borne IED. Unfortunately, it missed. But you know, that's what a heat-seeking missile will do when it goes after the engine block rather than the payload. So, but
well, let me see if I can put this into perspective for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You last worked actively in what year? When did you had at least, I believe, 20 years?
Yep. I retired in 2016.
Okay. So to frame that in a perspective, compare 2016 when you retired, which is really weird because that's when I retired, to now, the technology explosion in drones has been spectacular.
Oh yeah, I visited my old shop probably about 2 months ago, and just to see all of the toys, my mind's blown. I mean,
were you going toys?
Oh my God! I mean, there's a certain point in every military man's career where you should just not touch anything because you're going to break it. You know, just let the kids play and tell them what to do with it. You know, these things are so sophisticated and so like intuitive for the younger generation that these kids just, you know, make them dance, you know, whereas I would make it dance into a tree.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we can see how drones have managed to dance into apartment buildings or tanks or into petroleum refineries.
I could do that.
Let me throw this up on the screen as well. You may not be able to see it, but if you know, some of these are jet powered. A lot of these are not.
Yep.
So these are not, I guess what some people would think highly technological. Yeah, maybe some of their software is. But if you look at the bottom two drones, for example, those are not jet powered. Those are powered with propellers. And so people and institutions and buildings can crank these out at a prodigious rate.
That's a lawnmower engine.
And yeah, exactly. As you could see. And so it doesn't take, God, it's like nuclear weapons. You know, if you have Fissils, Fissiles, Nestle's makes the very best.
Delicious.
And you pack them with a dirty bomb. You have one person that can go into a particular scenario or area of combat, detonate it with them present or gone, and you can make a huge amount of property sterile really easily. You don't need, you know, the technology explosion has made defense very, very difficult. And the combat paradigm has changed. I'd love you to weigh in after this, but the combat paradigm now, just like in World War I, World War I was nothing but battleship war. So all these countries built an assload, a blivet, a fuck ton of battleships, as we've described before. And that's how you conducted naval warfare. You lobbed these massive shells the size of Volkswagens at each other. And then that changed in World War II. Then the carriers came in, and we built a ton of carriers. The Japanese built a ton of carriers. We started sinking carriers left and right, like the Akagi, immediately. And then that war changed. Then it became a war of B-52s. And the XB-70 was going to make us win everything. And then ICBMs came in. And that changed everything. This is a game changer. So Lyall Armstrong, can you kind of provide a little bit of an insight on how this is changing everything now?
Well, I mean, as Trump has actually talked about, he wants to have kind of what he called the golden dome air defense in the United States forced stuff just like this, kind of to rival the Israelis' Iron Dome, their air defense system that works so well, which is a combination of, a number of things: Arrow missiles, Patriot missiles, of course, Sea Whiz, and a number of different anti-air systems that all work in unison and basically are run by AI now. They basically see something come in, they identify it, they get a nice target lock on it, and then the computer picks the best weapon to send after it. They'll actually send, multi-thousand or multi-hundreds of $1,000 missiles at these $30,000 drones, just because of the massive, the damage that it can cause. Never mind the Iranian ICBMs that they're using that have bomblets in them, which, even if they hit the missile itself, the bomblets still come out and then will spread across a 7-mile range. They'll send these multi, $100,000 missiles, at these little tiny, bomblets because of the damage that it'll do. And when you think about what the Iranians are doing with that, is they're not fighting a war. They're just trying to get as many civilian casualties as possible at this point. So the paradigm with this is we're playing with an enemy that doesn't play by the rules. It used to be, I wear a uniform, you wear a uniform, we shoot at each other and see who's a better shot, and see who gets to die for their country. Now, when you're talking about with regimes like Iran, they're just indiscriminately firing, especially a headless Iran. They don't really have a whole command and control going on right now. So they're just kind of firing at whatever they can fire at, and just going. And the problem with that is not, never mind, you're, bringing other people in that shouldn't be involved, like Qatar, Turkey, all these other countries that probably you shouldn't be messing with, but they're doing it anyway. But then on top of that, you're not hitting legitimate targets, which is just pissing everybody off at that point. Whereas, the response to it has been infrastructure. We're hitting military targets, we're hitting their ability to fire, we're hitting, their command and control, all of that other good stuff, legitimate legal targets by the law of armed conflict.
The other thing I'd like to point out is that, if I'm not mistaken, and again, weigh in if you will, I don't believe bomblets are acceptable by the Geneva Convention yet. On the other hand, Iran doesn't mostly care.
They are and they're not. It comes down to is if they're the bomblets that will sit there and do an area denial where they end up becoming landmines, then no, they're not. If they detonate on impact, then yes, they're okay, because we actually use them. We'll take out an entire area. There's a whole range out at Hill Air Force Base. It's Cluster Bomb Hill. You can actually watch that stuff go off at sunset, just because the temperature change, which is kind of fun to watch. But don't go out there at sunset, or try to smuggle your pot through there, which has been known to happen. But good times.
Well, like with ICBMs and MERV, I can't remember what movie this was from. It's like, here's MERV. Well, multiple impact reentry vehicles. You would send an ICBM up.
Yep.
When they were popular in terms of nuclear war, and a ballistic missile, a warhead, could then split into several smaller warheads, and then MERV the crap out of whatever target that you deemed. The other thing I want to point out is that, yeah, we are achieving some success. There are some Iranian figures that have managed to become a persona non grata, weighing much less and scattered about in death than they were in life. And these are some big time Iranian coordinators. So
those two guys are so dead they didn't even have a picture left.
Oh, that's true. That there wasn't enough gathered. So, boys, wait a minute. First time tonight. Well played, Lyall. Well played.
There's just DNA stains somewhere.
Yeah, we're having some success. And I want to go into this because there are some updates going on. And as you can see in general, there's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, the Strait of Hormuz, which is this. And the reason it's a choke point, as you can see, as you're going out and exiting, I think 90% of China's oil was coming through there. A whole bunch, a major percentile of European oil was going through there. That's an issue. But at issue also is there's a little bit of a change in strategy. And I can't put the cursor on this, but if you look in the upper right, you can see, okay, there's the Gulf of Oman, and just above the word Strait of Hormuz, that's Iran, that country in that little border right there. That's the Strait of Hormuz. Then look left a little bit, there's Saudi Arabia. Remember, Iran, Shia, Saudi Arabia, Sunni. Well, Saudi Arabia ships a ton out through the Strait of Hormuz, but they're working on attempting to open and maybe even create another pipeline between the eastern portion of Saudi Arabia and the western portion of Saudi Arabia, utilizing the Red Sea. Now, look down below a little bit, almost to the bottom, just to the right of the word Africa, and you'll see Bab al-Mandab Strait. And that is, as I mentioned last Tuesday night, one of the two major sphincters in the Middle East. And I think the goal would be to see if they can move some of the shipping from the Strait of Hormuz across Saudi Arabia, because there is already a pipeline that was built by the Saudis. What kind of efficacy there is, I don't really know. But the goal is to move more out through the Gulf of Aden. And so the other thing that I should care to point out is, what have we learned? What are we learning? For example, what did we learn about China and Wuhan 19? We should have learned that we need to be as independent as possible with our pharmaceuticals and our PPE. And China, yes, and China manufacturing all sorts of medicine and things that we need during times of crisis. So the other thing we're kind of learning is Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, has said we need to be more energy independent, to which all the Democrats and everybody else, leftists, globalists, blah, 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 said, no, you need to make sure that everybody else is included. No, we need to be energy independent. Throughout all of this, this is proving this is a massive reason as to why we need to be energy independent. We had all this material under us. And then Obama and then Biden said, no, you can't do it here, not here. If you do something like that, you got to do it elsewhere. Now, if anybody remembers, Obama said that it was wonderful if Brazil was going to go out and put a ton of oil platforms out in the sea. That was okay because those are little brown people, and little brown people can be readily sacrificed for the United States of America. That's okay. This okay. Energy independence, consistent, reliable energy independence is bad. Very bad. And hey, folks, look at what time it is. It looks to me like it's time for a break. So if you need to hit the electric winkle chamber and you need to go ahead and do that, thanks to my guest tonight, Lyall Armstrong, host of Beer and Bullstein, for being here tonight. And folks, we'll be right back. I said, we'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log. Intrigue. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
That's the end of the first hour. Look, I'm BZ. I'm over on the right. And over here is LYLE Armstrong, one each. Here in the Saloon, co-host for the show tonight. It is March the 19th, the year of our Lord 2026. It is 9:03 p.m. on the far left coast, which means it is midnight 03 a.m. Yes. where Lyall resides right now. So thank you. I say thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for being here tonight. And while I was playing the break, I had to go. Yeah. Clink, clink, clink. Colonel Clink. I retrieved my vodka one each right here. Hey, look, where'd I get that little BC logo?
Wonder where did you get that?
The nectar of the gods. Okay, I have to tell you, this little thing right here is a Shure SM7B mic flag end cap that I had custom made, and I put it on all of my mugs when I get the end caps in. So I cheated. It's not for mug. It's not for mug. Is for SM7 Shure microphone. This is weird. This is Al Jazeera. This is an article that was published in Al Jazeera. Hey, look, The U.S.-Israeli strategy against Iran is working. Here's why. Every aspect of Iran's ability to project regional power is being successfully degraded. Now, as my law professor, Elton Long, said when he handed out blue books, hey, kids, contrast and compare. Well, the contrast and comparison is, why is Al Jazeera saying, we might be effective, while the American media maggots are saying, hey, screw America. We don't want to have anything to do with you, and we hope you fail. It's almost kind of like sort of waging war on yourself, which is weird, and it's like I say and have said for any amount of time. Kids, you can find the articles and the videos that I have used and will be using tonight on my Rumble channel at BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, where I display all my show links. Unfortunately, YouTube is not built for displaying a whole bunch of links. So, because all sorts of leftists said, BC, I'm crying because you don't have any evidence for that. Yeah, I do. Fuck you. And you can go to Rumble and BZ's Saloon, and you can see all the show links that I have. And I will post them a little bit later for my show. So, I just make... yeah, it's true. You know me, I just MSU. I make shit up, except you can't make this up. Other people have covered this.
Oh, it's the gay Ayatollah.
Yeah, it is. It is. But there are certain things that you should know about this. And again, I'm doubly glad, triply glad, quadruply. I just made up a word. Glad that Lyall Armstrong from Biel und Bullstein is here tonight.
Bullstein.
Bullstein. So in this, it turns out Iran's new supreme leader may be gay. Dead Ayatollah feared his son wasn't unsuitable for the role. Here's what you need to know about Islam, folks. Islam accuses others, just like Democrats, of what they themselves are guilty. As in the case of Islam, the new gay Ayatollah. Now, some people say, oh, you can't say he's gay. I don't give a crap. The dude is probably gay. And there's a history of gayness in the Muslim world. The Middle Eastern version of Islam and clerics practice what they call bakabatsi. And if you don't believe me, look it up. B-A-C-H-A, Batsi, B-A-Z-I. Look up, for example, bakabatsi boys, which translates to English as child play. Well, this is no secret in Iran. And the saying is, hey, little girls are to look at. Little boys are to play with. And so, folks, I wonder what they mean by play. What does that word mean? Islam says, basically, you can't touch a woman. So little boys instead dance and are dressed up like little girls, bakabatsi boys, with lipstick and makeup so that the adults can play with them. Play. So it's no surprise or shock then that the new Ayatollah, the dead Ayatollah's son, Mujtaba Khomeini, is likely homosexual. Shh. It's a secret in neon letters. This shit is secret. As the father also described the son, well, he's not very bright. And so it would likewise not be a shock, at least to me, that Mujtaba is, say, dead or maimed or disfigured or seriously injured or unable to speak or move, blah, 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 blah. And again, I would defer to you, sir, on the left. Do you have any insight on that? Because I will tell you, first, let me preface it with this. When I was in patrol, and a lot of the guys that had gone over to the Sandy Box, When they came back, I had one guy. Normally, most guys just want to come back, do their job, get a nice job as a nice job with a retirement, blah, blah, blah. That's what copdom is. Okay. And they make great cops because they come from a paramilitary atmosphere and or a true military atmosphere. And copdom is a paramilitary atmosphere. And if you want to interact with squared away folks, because I had mostly guys come back and a couple of chicks too. They were all squared away boots. Well, one of them opened up to me one day and said, it was the weirdest thing when I was, actually, this was Iraq when this gentleman or where this gentleman had been to. And I think he also did some time in Afghanistan, not Iran. And he said, it was the weirdest thing because one of the first things that I discovered after some of my fellow troops told me, the dealio is here. And I thought it was the strangest thing, but I tried not to, I didn't want to get involved in this stuff. I had a job that I had to do. I discovered that women were for breeding and boys were for pleasure. And I thought, okay, I can see that. And then I had another gentleman and then a chick. And then I started asking the ones that I knew that had come back and had started working for the department. And almost to a man and a woman in words kind of like that, but not exactly. They all confirmed that. And I thought, I didn't want to have to drag it out of anybody because they'll tell me if they want to, or maybe I'll ask a question and they can always tell me, hey, go to hell. I'm not going to talk about this stuff. Cool. I get it. But it was a common thread throughout a lot of that stuff. And so I want to ask you over here, Lyall Armstrong, did you have occasion to interface with, work with troops, not in the way that you're thinking, folks? Get that crap out of your head right now. I shouldn't have said the I word.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Okay, nicely done. And anything that you came through and made a discovery that perhaps you weren't necessarily interested in hearing or discovering?
Oh no, you took the words right out of my mouth. Women are for procreation. Little boys are for pleasure. That's exactly what it's all about over there. And it always usually happens on Thursdays because apparently Thursday is the day that Allah blinks.
Thursday
is the day that Allah blinks, apparently. And everything can get undone. Actually, if you don't mind, I actually am going to, respond to somebody in the chat here where someone said Christians do that too. Sure. Catholic priests have been known to diddle little boys.
Exactly. Yep.
Just not every Thursday. Okay. Just not every single Thursday.
Yeah.
All
And
right?
you don't want to open the door as to what I think about organized religion, particularly the Catholic Church as it is right now. However, that said, moving on.
Exactly. I actually witnessed this firsthand on a mountainside in Afghanistan, and I think I've told this story to you before, but somebody here might not have heard it before, where we had a younger gentleman on one of our teams who was a smaller statured little man. Still wouldn't want to mess with him. He'd take me apart. But he was smaller statured, and one of our ANA commanders, or Afghan National Army, Special Forces commanders, came up to him and grabbed him by the lip like this, which is basically the same thing as what you would expect, like in prison where they turn the pocket inside out and have them hold on to their pocket.
Oh, I'll tell you a story about that.
Oh, it's the same thing. Like, you are my bitch. And basically that's where they pull them into the tent and have their way with them. Well, that commander was allowed to live, but he did not make it through the mission. Let's just say that he was medevaced out. He had about 9 guys of British and United States, royalty as you could say, beat the ever loving crap out of him, and in front of his men. And that was the fun part. We did it in front of his men. It was the damn commander of the unit that did that. And at that point, it was guns. Guns came out, and it came down to is like, let this happen. This is going to happen. And at that point, we got him out of there. Brandon was okay. Everything was fine. Mission went on successfully, and that was kind of a shakeup. So you never really think about it until it happens right in front of you.
And you're thinking, I hadn't seen this in the playbook, and probably no one pre-warned you about that in various
right.
Ways.
I was enjoying my goat on the side of a mountain,
and then worse things happened in 1980.
You know what? I actually thought about this though. After that, I thought, why not me? Did I lose my sex appeal? I mean, granted, I was the old man by then.
Got you wondering, wait a minute. Hey. Where? Yeah. So 1980. If you guys remember, there was in 79 or 80, Jimmy Carter did two things that I absolutely reviled him for, besides being an idiot and a conciliatory idiot. One of them was giving away the Panama Canal. Strike one, motherfucker. And two, the Marielito boat lift. Hey, come one, come all. So I can distinctly remember being in the jail and the way that we started doing what was called lipping Cubans. And you'd pull down the lower lip. There was a tattoo inside the lower lip. And when you saw that, then you know that that person was a murderer and that had at least one murder when you lipped Cubans. I don't know why that came up, but it just came into my brain housing group right now. And then, of course, we had a flood in the 70s. We had a flood of Vietnamese from Vietnam, and they were brought over to the United States. And the other thing, and this isn't racist or any of that shit, it just happened. Once we got Vietnamese into, say, Rancho Cordova, all the geese and ducks were gone. All the cats were gone. All the dogs were gone in Rancho Cordova, and people didn't understand, what is happening here? I don't grok that concept. And so 80s came around, Cubanos, etc. I want to put this up and also say to a lot of the Democrats and leftists, well, Iran not being an existential threat. We'll talk about John Kent, I believe the guy's name is, here in just a future, but I have some video that I'd like to play. So CIA Director John Ratcliffe testifies under oath about Iran. Well, they didn't have access to uranium, or they weren't creating a nuclear
program. Is the Iranian regime committed to America's destruction, in your opinion?
Yes.
Does the Iranian regime have American blood on their hands since its founding in 1979?
Yes.
Has Iran plotted assassination attempts against Americans on American soil?
Yes.
Was Iran developing a nuclear weapon prior to our military action last June? And did Iran remain committed to developing a nuclear weapon in the lead up to this conflict?
Yeah, so I want to clarify on that because there's been much talk about a fatwa against the development of a nuclear weapon.
Can you come back to that 1 second? Let me finish these.
You bet.
Okay. If left unchecked, do you think Iran would have the ability to develop missiles capable of reaching the United States?
Yes.
Did Israel force the U.S.'s hand and make us take action, as some have claimed?
No.
Director Gabbard, do you agree with the CIA director's assessment on that last question in particular? Is the Iran...
So, facts and evidence, but Democrats, of course, don't want to hear anything about that. They don't want to know. They don't want to hear anything. The other aspect, the other aspect I find amusing is, let's see, wasn't it Makar? I can never pronounce this frog's name. Makar. Didn't he say something like, we are not going to go into Iran. We will not help the United States. And Keir Starmer said, no. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you can't use our bases. Now, here's something weird. The UK, along with France and Germany and Italy and the Netherlands and Japan, and NATO said, no bueno, not going to happen. they've all decided basically they're going to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, we couldn't see fit to do it then, but now that you're affecting our damn oil, then okay, maybe now we can see fit to come around a little bit. Okay.
I have a feeling there was a couple threats of sanctions and, maybe a couple tariffs and stuff going on in the background. I wouldn't put it past the Trump administration. Like, hey, beans and toast,
Yeah.
How's the 25% tariff on beans and toast coming?
Yeah, doing that well. The other thing I want to put up is I spoke earlier in the first hour about the Bab al-Mandab Strait, which connects the Red Sea, and that the Saudis are going to start cranking that stuff up. Well, hey, look, evidence to that. South and away from the Strait of Hormuz, through the Bab al-Mandab Strait, crude oil. Let me see if I can put this up. There we go. Now you can see it. Yanbu crude flows have surged with steady ramp up since the war began. So that's Saudi Arabia pushing more oil through that strait. And in case you weren't aware of what that is or where that is, again, I put this up. You can see the Strait of Hormuz, upper right, pinch point, and then go down to the Gulf of Aden, Red Sea. And look, it says the Bab al-Mandab Strait, and that's a pinch point also, another little sphincter in the Middle East.
Right by your Djibouti.
Right, exactly. And it, as my understanding is, it makes Djibouti itch, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the sphincter of Djibouti.
It is. Now we're going to transition rather clumsily, if I might say, over into Republican rhino underminers. Yeah. And
or I like to call them Democrat light.
Yeah. Boy, okay, wait a minute. Give me the damn thing here. Jeez, oh pizza, you guys. Let me alone here. So we were told that it was going to be, let's see, Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis, Lisa Murkowski, and Susan Collins. They were definitely going to be voting against the SAVE Act. Okay, so in the Senate, which is where we are now with this, there are 53 Republican senators, and we know for a fact that every Democrat is going to vote against this. Unless you've heard something different, I think Fetterman's going to vote against it. He kind of, I don't know. Have you heard anything newer?
Fetterman wants a straight up photo ID bill with none of the other things attached, like mail-in ballots and, the cancellation of mail-in ballots and all that other good stuff that goes along with it. Which he's not going to get. That's just not going to happen, because the whole, ballot harvesting, schemes that come along with that is just way too much. We need in-person voting, with the exception of, absentee ballots, which we've always had absentee ballots. That's the thing I don't understand. If you can't vote on the day, you are unable to vote, you're going to be out of town, you're in a wheelchair, you're, deployed
in the military.
Yeah, whatever, you can always request an absentee ballot and it is counted. So this whole mail by, or, vote by mail scheme is just that. It comes down to it's just another avenue for fraud.
Well, quite clearly. John Thune, I am very, very disappointed in. He wasn't motivated, as far as I can tell, at all to fight for the SAVE Act. He was saying, we just don't have the votes. And because in my opinion, we don't have the votes, then I'm not going to do anything. And that means that I'm kind of a lazy ass, because I'm not interested in seeing if I can fight for a talking filibuster. And on the side,
Thune was like, we don't have the votes. Oh, look, dogs.
Jesus, stop doing this to me, okay? Stop.
John Thune is an empty suit. Okay, John Thune needs to give up his seat, because he is not doing his state any favors. And by doing his state no favors, he's doing the country no favors.
Well, the numbers aren't there, maybe now, but there are updates, which I will get to. Essentially, you'd need 60 votes to pass. If you had a filibuster and if you got 51, including VP JD Vance coming in there to be the 51st to break, you'd have to go talking or silent filibuster, an issue in and of itself. Speaking of issues, this isn't just an 80-20 issue. This is an 84 to 85% issue with lots of people on both sides of the aisle. And so it got, I hate Congress and the Senate when nobody can write a clean damn bill. Then you have to attach all kinds of stupid damn writers, which make other people go, oh, well, I like the idea of the SAVE Act, but I don't like this. And oh God, it took an act of God on Tuesday.
Can I address one of your chatters here? Because he brings up a really good point here. I think it's Kion or Kion. Why wouldn't your driver's license be allowed? A great example would be the state of Massachusetts, where they give illegal aliens, driver's licenses. They also register you to vote in the state of Massachusetts when you get a driver's license, which that's why the SAVE Act is one of the reasons why it's so important. But the problem with it is now these illegals have a driver's license. So now that would make them a citizen.
That's a gateway to everything else. And the same with California.
Exactly.
They do the same damn thing there.
Now, the key with that is if you get a real ID, that is like a passport and driver's license, where you have proven that you are a U.S. citizen. Here we go. The alternate way you could do that would also be bring your passport or bring your birth certificate, which isn't hard. I mean, $5 you can get your birth certificate. $60 you can get your passport. It is not a big deal. People make this out like this is, something fierce. I got my passport in a week, literally a week. I was shocked. I was thinking about it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks, and it showed up, and I'm like, well, okay, here we go. But this is not a, go ahead.
Like the chat says, Reaver of Common Sense, whose shirt I am wearing right now for his show tomorrow night, by the way, says that, you don't need to have a passport. That's just one of a number of things that you can use. In Califailure, before I left, you had to have a real ID if you wanted to jump on a plane, for example. Okay, so what did I have to do? I didn't have a ready copy of my birth certificate, so for $5, I went to the County of Sacramento Registrar and Board of Records, got 5 copies just for the hell of it, of that, and then I went back into the area to DMV and said, okay, I want my real ID. And here's my birth certificate. And I had to prove that I lived at, X address. And you needed 2 pieces of indicia to validate that. Okay, so here's my, PG&E bill. And here's my water and power bill and my sewer bill. And then I got a real ID. Califailure made you do that. Well, I took that to my new state, Idaho, and they looked at that and they said, okay, real ID, cool, that works for us. Here's your new California driver's license. Or excuse me, my new Idaho driver's license. And then when I vote in Idaho, here's the best part as well. The first time I almost cried when I voted here the first time in pleasure. I went in and say, okay, the district you're in, it's over here, the other district over here. So I went left and they said, okay, give me your driver's license.
You made 3 rights. You didn't take a left. I know.
Thank you. I go around. Go around. I'll circle back. I'll nickel back. No, I'll circle back. I gave my ID, and then they took the ID and they said, recite to us your address. Tell me what your address is. Not letting me see the license. Well, I'm blah, 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 blah. Okay. Thank you very much. And then they gave me my ID left, back. I voted on a paper ballot. It's just, geez, it was so wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. But like I say, back on Tuesday night, I mean, just to get it open to debate, the vote barely passed in the Senate, 51 to 48, just to get the shebang rolling, so to speak. And this is something that I enjoy. Here is, I believe, Mike Lee.
Mike Lee, baby.
Talking about, you know what? I think we're going to have to actually, wait a minute. Do I have it? No, I don't have it. Dun, dun, dun. I'll do it myself. We're going to have to work over the weekend. What?
Even where actual doubts exist as to someone's citizenship. You make it almost impossible to detect and very, very difficult to prosecute. Voting is, moreover, something that happens in a finite time and place, and most of the time, by the time it all happens, the matter is moot, and so it can be difficult to move on. This is why I sometimes will compare this to when people say we don't need to put these procedures in place because it's already against the law for non-citizens to vote, therefore they don't vote, and that's why it's so rare. That's a little bit like saying we don't need laws that require liquor stores to make people show ID before they buy alcohol, because we already have laws prohibiting the sale of alcoholic beverages to children. If we didn't have ID laws or record-keeping requirements in place for such things, that too would be very, very difficult, close to impossible to detect and enforce and prosecute and result in convictions. So look, this debate will continue. I look forward to hearing any contributions, any suggestions as to how we could make it better and more inclusive.
So they're going to work over the weekend. To be honest, I'm.
Oh, wait a minute! I got something for that.
Maybe when I
Poor
need
guys.
that, maybe when I need that, I should point to you, and then you can do that because I don't have the thing.
I'll get that for
going
you.
on. Yeah, thank you. So there's so much left yet to address and talk about. I'm not going to do the bottom of the hour break. Obviously, it's already past. Duh. I found this interesting. I was looking on social media, as I do before I come here, to see if there's anything major that I missed. And it looks like Senator Kennedy was making a move. I don't know if, in fact, this was accomplished, to put the SAVE Act as reconciliation, which only needs 50+1 votes. And that's kind of frightening, if you can say. So that was a suggestion, and I don't know if he was able to carry it out or not, and I have not heard. But the story about the show tonight, as I remind everybody, is hypocrisy. There's an explosion of hypocrisy. And guess what? It would also happen to be on both sides of the aisle. And I have an example of that.
That would be me if the SAVE Act passes right there, just all over Congress.
Yeah. Okay. It was...
Thank you, Congress. Oh.
But the dealio on this, here's why Congress really couldn't care less about keeping DHS shuttered and the government shut down. By the way, I should tell you, everybody, it's been 47 days now. You know, because
Has it really?
Yeah. Since January 30th or 31st.
Let me ask you a question. How has it affected your life?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you personally.
Okay, I have to preface something with this because I'm going to play something about TSA to make my point of the hypocrisy. But to be honest, affecting me, well, I mostly don't give a shit. And the reason I don't care is because I'm not flying anywhere.
Yep.
I'm not going anywhere. I don't like to fly. And I don't like to be crammed in a thin aluminum tube at 35 to 40,000 feet with drunk assholes or people that want to light their souls on fire or people that haven't bathed since 1920. I have zero interest in being
Dude, I'm in the room.
Pardon?
I said, dude, I'm in the room.
Oh, okay. or you know, people who are sloths and have zero manners. Now, that having been said, yeah, it doesn't affect me personally, but I want to make this.
The reason I bring that up, though, is because the the government shutdowns are always these looming things, that it's always an emergency, but it's Christmas. That's a government shutdown.
Well, yeah, except for TSA.
Except for TSA. There are some inconveniences.
And here's my point with TSA. I'll put this up, and I'm going to have to hit something else to make sure. Here are a couple of people that are getting escorted past all the people at an airport, put in the front of the line, and I wonder who those people would be. Here's Congresswoman Nancy Mace walking through and past the lines. And somebody else. Here's Debbie Wasserman Schultz getting past the line and going to the front of the line.
Oh, you mean our betters?
Yes, exactly. There she is.
God, I can smell that video.
New shoes and the escort, the personal escort from her on that. It's like she doesn't just get to walk through. Mace doesn't just get to walk through. They are escorted through this. Like most other things that they manage to levy against you magically, mystically, they themselves are absolutely unaffected, and that is by intent. And that's part and parcel of the hypocrisy that I was talking about. And here's, I believe this is Cory Booker. What was Cory Booker? I think was Spartacus. Wasn't he Spartacus?
Yeah, Spartacus.
I am Spartacus. Here's CNN's Jake Tapper.
Oh, God.
Having the temerity to call out Spartacus and saying that, the DHS shutdown and the TSA and all those long lines, I wonder who's responsible for that. And then, my God, Jake Tapper. He points fingers. Oh, my God.
Isn't it time for Democrats to reopen and refund DHS?
So first of all, Democrats have tried multiple times to try to get TSA, CISA, the Coast Guard funded. Republicans have refused time and time again to fund.
Yeah, they want the whole agency funded.
They want the whole agency.
Isn't it time for Democrats to...
And it's wrong, apparently, to fund the whole agency. Here's the point. They wanted to slam ICE, but because of the big, beautiful bill, ICE has already been funded for the next 3 years. So, which is why I say Democrats don't give a crap about you. They want to make you hurt. They want there to be pain involved. And if there isn't pain, then, well, there is no point. Here's an article from Axios, of all places. And it said, Inside Dems' new gambit to win the DHS shutdown fight. And if you read this article, and I will again put it up on my Rumble channel, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, if you read down and scroll down, it's the point was, well, we've decided we are going to make you hurt. And that's the whole point. Yes, that's exactly what they want to do. Well, again, since we're talking about hypocrisy all over the place, hey, what about this guy named Joe Kent?
Oh,
well, here was John. By the way, if you don't know, folks, Joe Kent decided that he was going to resign because he believed, and he said exclusively, that there was no intrinsic threat by Iran. There was no threat, so I can't condone this, and I have to leave. Okay, on one hand, I have to say, okay, I can sort of respect you for that. I don't know why you took the damn job in the first place, because you knew it was Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head anyway, but you still took the job. But having said that, Then you decided, no, they're not a threat. So I got to get out of here. I got to skedaddle. As opposed to General Mark Milley, who was a treasonous son of a bitch and stayed when he should have left. So in one fashion, I kind of admire Joe Kent for having a slight, a scintilla, a modicum of truth behind him. Because if you don't want to be here, and if you don't want to be in the organization, then leave. You should resign.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Instead of shitting in the public pool. But that's a story for another day. So here is Joe Kent talking for about 45 seconds. Going to play most of the thing on the Sean Ryan show. Talking about, hey, look, Iran it's really a threat.
They're still registering for the draft, aren't they? Like that's the logical conclusion to the direction that we're heading in right now, unless we make some serious changes.
I mean, I've already heard rumors that Fifth Group is going to be sending guys to Iraq because of the escalated situation with Iran now.
Yeah. I mean, most Americans aren't aware of it. Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay. Because after the Iraqi military, we spent $2 trillion on surrender.
Oh, wait, did he just say it's the Iraqi government funded by Iran? So, who is the existential threat when you wade through all the mud?
To ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand the military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did. And the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran.
Did he just say Iran? Seems to me he said Iran, which is really weird. And then all the leftists came out and said, well, that was published back in August of 2024. When he wasn't appointed by Trump, but he had the same mindset then and the same mindset as he went in. And now all of a sudden, it's like parenthesis, what changed? End of parenthesis. And so I think maybe something did change. Stephen Smith talks about it even.
I don't support that. And to the Jewish community out there, let me be very, very clear. I don't blame them if they're in an uproar over Joe Kent, because what you're doing is basically saying that Israel instigated this war. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu is on the record saying no. Other Israelis and other members of the Jewish community are saying no. And a statement like that by Joe Kent could easily be used as an excuse.
Thank you. Here comes the point made by Stephen A. Smith.
For individuals out there to engage in anti-Semitism, which is fomented and grown, and we all need to speak out against that.
What that means is the intelligence community also came out today or yesterday, one of the two, and said, who's going to be the biggest threat? It's the lone wolves that have already been allowed into this country, primarily during 46, when the borders were wide open. So the people they're going to be inspired. There was a magazine, Al Qaeda had a magazine called Inspire.
Yes, I have every episode.
Do you really?
I do. I'm a fan.
And so, where will the threats come from? From within, from the people, as we've already determined by the 4 prior terrorist threats, by people that it turns out they were already here. And they were radicalized already, or they were open to it and then became radicalized, which, Lyall Armstrong, isn't that just weird?
No. In a word, no. It's completely and 100% predictable. Now, if we were going to go back to 2001, we could sit there and go, wow, oh my God, who would have thought of that? Blah, blah, blah. This is 2026. All right. No, this is absolutely predictable. This is 100% preventable. And anybody who thinks otherwise is either a moron, is selling you something, or wants to put their head in the sand. That's it.
Literally.
That is 100% it.
Great analogy, he stated to Lyall Armstrong, host of Beer and Bullstein. I throw this up also in Contrast and Compare. Hey, look, from Semaphore, FBI investigates intelligence aide who resigned over war. And this is, again, where I say something similar to, but wait, there's more. Here's CIA Director John Ratcliffe talking about Joe Kent.
The head of the National Counterterrorism Center resigned, saying that Iran did not represent an imminent threat to the United States. Is there anything to indicate that Iran had ceased in its nuclear ambitions or in its desire to continue to build ballistic missiles capable of threatening American troops and allies in the Middle East?
Folks, you sitting down. Here comes the answer.
Senator, no. In fact, the intelligence reflects the contrary.
So you disagree with Mr. Kent?
I do.
I would think any fair-minded assessment of the situation, even based on open sources, would reflect the danger the regime poses to the United States.
Yeah, but again, wait, there's more. If you go in and you read this article and some of the other articles that I will have linked up, you'll discover that, oh, wait, in terms of there's more, it sounds like maybe Joe Kent leaked intelligence. That's kind of strange. So maybe the resignation was something similar to, hey, it's time to exit stage left because I can hear the footsteps coming after me at this point. LYLE Armstrong, any thoughts?
Before I go to jail. Is where that's going.
You see what you did?
Yep. Before I go to jail, I'm going to get out of here before I go to jail. Is what this is smelling like.
Yeah, I don't know. Call me wacky, just don't call me late for dinner. That seems to be a little bit of hypocrisy, and it shouldn't shock anybody that I have some more hypocrisy. Folks, have you ever heard of this woman named Kathy Hochul? She's a Democrat. She happens to be the governor of New York. And when she was running for governor back in August of 2022, she was saying things similar to, well, you know, as I'm running, if you guys don't happen to like being in New York, you can go move to Florida. So cue the curtain being pushed aside by additional people since then, deciding that, yes, they're going to flee to Florida, like Sean Hannity and any number of other personnel, but also here's what she said. New taxes could drive the wealthy people out of New York City. I know it's a shock. It's a shock to everybody. It's an assault on your brainulus. It was just a couple of days ago, I think 6 days ago, after the state legislature called for higher taxes on the wealthy, Governor Kathy Hochul said she's worried that the move could drive the highest earners out of the state. Well, the funny thing about that is, here's Kathy Hochul saying, oh, wait, maybe I spoke too early because this video is going viral. Sadly, I could only find it on Instagram. I hate Instagram because you can't stop it. You can't pause it. I despise Instagram. So this is a clip from Politico New York, the Agenda Summit in Albany last week. Albany, New York, of course, being the capital of the state of New York. And let me see. Do I have the sound turned on? I do. Let's see. This is what she said. If I put it up on the stage, let's go.
People who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state.
The generous social programs that we have in our state. I may end up playing this again. I'm not sure. Go.
Right. Now, there are some patriotic millionaires who stepped up. Okay, cut me the checks. I mean,
That's all she gives a shit about. Cut me the checks. Send me the money. So if that isn't rampant rank hypocrisy.
If you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home.
Who would come back to the state of New York or New York City under Muzzy Mamdani communist when they have a nice state in Florida? No one in their right mind, millionaire, billionaire, or otherwise, would go back to the state of New York. But she wants you to because, oh, I told you to go away. No, I did. I wasn't serious when I told you to go away.
Because our tax base has been eroded. So I philosophically don't.
Tax base has been eroded by you bastards leaving after I told you to leave. That's just so bizarre, Gus. Well, hey, speaking of taxes, here are some major, I'm sorry, let me go back to this. Hypocrisy. Major Virginia gun control law just came out. Okay.
I'm going to need another one for this one. Hold on.
Nice. Nice. So they just passed this, a whole bunch of anti-gun laws, and it makes it legal to sell, manufacture, import, or transfer assault firearms. So basically, assault weapons, what people continue to say are assault weapons, which are really rifles that have all these funny little black widgets on them that, oh, the scowy, these rifles are scowy. I don't know what that is. It's very scowy. And it raises purchase age for handguns and certain semi-auto firearms from 18 to 21, allows lawsuits against gun manufacturers and sellers for failing to use reasonable controls. Now, who sets reasonable? Well, they do. And requires mandatory safe storage. Failure can lead to criminal charges, a mandatory waiting period before completing a firearm sale. Targets, yes, target specific things like, threaded barrels. You can't have a threaded barrel. And you can't have a detachable magazine on shotguns.
Unconstitutional.
Oh my God. And there's a whole lot more that I don't have the time to go into. Here's
unconstitutional, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. It will go back to court. You and I both know. But here's the thing that because of this, I'm going to talk to you about this, which is, I don't know if you can see this or not. Virginia Democrats passed that bill, but guess what they did? They voted to exempt themselves from every new gun control measure that they're imposing on everyone, proving once again, as we have said, laws are only for us underlings, us proles, us subjects, us serfs, us menials, the lowly rabble like you and me, not our superior rulers who know much better than we do how we require constant oppression. And so, because we deserve it, it's time to make sure that we get it. Here's also another thing. There's a guy, I don't know if you follow this guy. I just did. Constitutional Patriot. And so he points out, and I'll play the video. This will probably be the, I think this is going to be the last story for the night. And then we'll have a wrap up. Basically, he says, you know what? The Virginia Democrat gun bill is a complete ridiculous joke. And so this dude, and you'll see it, this guy has a massive 50 caliber BMG. Which is way more powerful than anything that they were proscribing from the state of Virginia. But it's perfectly legal under their new assault weapon ban. Let me tell you a little story that I have. I was range master for my 3,000 plus deputy department. And while I was range master, there's a guy named Ronnie Barrett. And Ronnie Barrett manufactures the Barrett 50 BMG. Now it's used, you can, depending on where you are, you can buy it as a civilian, and or you've probably seen it in any number of movies. 'Cause 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 'c Are you talking?
Sorry about that.
Okay. I couldn't hear you for a second. Anyway, Ronnie Barrett said that because the state of Califailure is so oppressive, I'm not going to be selling the Barrett anymore in Califailure, which, quite frankly, it's a hell of a sniper gun and can defeat a whole lot of stuff.
Used it a lot.
But the bullpup in a smaller caliber is just no bueno. It's illegal. It isn't about, as he points out, it's not about safety. It doesn't have anything to do with safety. It's about control. So what are you going to do about that, Virginians? Are you going to try to appeal this? Are you going to sue? Are you going to try to set it up or send it up through appellate courts? Because any chink in the armor of the Second Amendment is something that we cannot stand. Period. End of statement. And Governor Spanberger, she signed this stuff into law. Now, I have to play the video for you, which I think is predominantly amusing.
Because underneath the new laws, assault weapons, this is 10 rounds. This has no assault features on the forward part. This is illegal, and this is a smaller round than this is. But if we're going truly about safety, you had a better argument saying that this should be outlawed than this. But you don't, because why? You're uneducated, you're ignorant, or you just don't blatantly care. And you're not willing to either A, take the time to come talk to us, or B, you just don't care.
Where do you think Spanberger and kind of the Democrats are going to take?
Folks, I got to say, that's a sweet weapon he's holding right there.
Both of them.
Yeah, the bullpup ain't bad either.
It's going to go the way of either California and New York. They're going to try what they can here because they have a supermajority, and then they're just going to see what sticks and what they can get away with, because that's what politicians do. If I didn't get in trouble this time, why not go further and keep on pressing the bill? Because why not? Keep doing something until I get yelled at, right?
It's going to get appealed. Period. End of statement.
Yep.
But it's not necessarily in the appeal. It's the process of what you go through to make sure that you oppress gun owners. And, if like he said, if we can get away with it, then that's exactly what will occur. So in retrospect, Lyall Armstrong, he of the Beer and Bullstein show coming up. Well, we'll talk to you about when that's coming up. Any encapsulation you may have and thoughts about what we've been gibbering about tonight, sir?
Oh, there's so much.
I know. It's wonderful.
Oh, the Second Amendment. That one is a near and dear to my heart. Any infringement on that is just completely unconstitutional in my opinion. If the military has it, if the police have it, then you should have it. The definition of tyranny is the state having it and not allowing you to have it. If you can safely store a tank, go get a tank. There you go. There's nothing saying you can't have a tank. So it really boils down to is what you do with said tank. If you drive it through someone's building, that's a problem, but we have, but
like, I don't, do you guys remember the guy, the guardsman, the guardsman in California who stole the tank and drove all around, I think it was San Diego.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
And ran over cars. He was a guardsman, so he had access to it, knew how to make it work. Drove over one scene in which drove over a motorhome. And you and I share.
Well, through it.
Well, yeah, kind of through it / over it. You and I share a love of shit blowing up. And when I look at videos like that, I don't know, I kind of enjoy shit blowing up. Plus, as you mentioned, Killdozer. Again, a story for another time. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Oh no, I was just saying, that's a near and dear to my heart subject. Mainly because without the Second Amendment, everything else falls to the shit. right now, I know there's at least five court cases up before the Supreme Court, which hopefully they take up a few of them, because this stuff is just getting nuts. Like what they're trying to do in Virginia there. It doesn't make any sense. In Massachusetts, they just passed a law last year that bans anything 50 caliber and above. Well, to all of the liberals that are out there saying the Second Amendment was only about muskets. It's only about muskets.
I like the one about hunting.
Because the founders were worried about an invasion of deer.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And elk, but pointy things. Ooh,
pointy things. But it's only about muskets. Well, muskets were .67 caliber.
Yeah, they were.
Okay. So, if we're banning everything 50 caliber and above, you just banned muskets. All right. So, think about it. The people making these laws, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Excuse my language. And all they're doing is, like you said, it's big and scary, and it hurts my feelings. My fifis are hurt. So, we're going to do something to do something rather than actually, keep criminals in jail. We just let out a 3 in Massachusetts. I ain't shitting you. A 3 lifetime convicted murderer. He was put in jail for 3 lifetime sentences. They just paroled his ass. But they want to take my guns away.
Well, California just decided that it was going to, in its infinite wisdom, set free from prison, where he was assigned a full lifetime sentence for raping little children. And he was released by Gavin Newsom under the Elderly Parole Act. So he was pulled out of prison because he was elderly. He was 57 years old.
Oh, dear God.
So, he won't reoffend again. Come on. The parole people were on him like a ham sandwich on a squirrel. We're going to know where he... Bullshit.
Yeah, dead pedophiles don't reoffend. I'm just going to say.
Thank you very much. I can tell you about all the time that I spent as a detective in child abuse. This should not surprise you. I got more time when I got when child abusers were convicted when I was assigned to child abuse than I ever had in homicide. I got more consistent, huge sentences under child abuse than people who just murdered other people. So, Lyall Armstrong, tell us about your show tomorrow night. You got one Friday. You got one Saturday. Go, sir.
Well, you just took it. Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Beer and Bullstein. We're going to be talking about the Communist Manifesto and the Bill of Rights, and seeing which one of those we're actually living under, and kind of bringing, curtailing in with BZ's hypocrisy theme coming here tonight. That being said, those in the chat who love to argue, I have phone lines open.
Oh,
and I would
my God.
love to hear from you. So, Mr. Keon, if you please show up, we will talk. I'm very respectful. As long as you're respectful with me, we can have a great debate, and it would be a wonderful time. So please show up, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Can't wait to see you.
Okay, let me manage to emphasize with great emphasis.
Emphasis, that's a good word.
Leftists, Democrats, if you disagree with any of the things that were, said tonight by me, or more specifically tomorrow night, that Lyall Armstrong may address, then he will provide a phone number on the screen. He will speak it, he will show it, and he will ask you to call into his show. So wouldn't you say, folks, isn't that the absolute perfect opportunity to come and provide a tete-a-tete between yourself and Lyall Armstrong, he of Beer and Bullstein, and then you can proffer your own logical arguments, not but based and predicated on emotions, but let's hear some of the facts that you have to buttress your argument. So I don't have the phone number right now. It's not appropriate to tell it right now. Go to Lyall Armstrong's show tomorrow, Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern. He's providing you with a golden, wondrous opportunity to say what you think.
And I'm just, a retard in a hat. You got me. Come on. You can take my arguments apart. You got this.
I mean, the phone line, singular, will be open for you to call in. So please put your mouth to the phone mouthpiece and state your argument. The opportunity will be provided to you tomorrow, courtesy of Lyall Armstrong. I'm sorry, it just doesn't get any better than that. So, Lyall, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being a wondrous co-host. And
thank you for having me.
I will be looking at your show and monitoring your show with huge amounts of caution. And I can't wait. I cannot wait for people to call in. It's going to be so glorious. So thank you, sir. And good night to you.
Good night, sir.
God bless. Take care. Be safe. That was Lyall Armstrong. Thanks for him being here. And I think it's TTFN. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, on X, on YouTube. I hope you subscribed. And wherever good podcasts can be found, live, in chat, or later in podcast. Also, thanks to KLRN, Rick Robinson's KLRN, for co-streaming the show. As per normal, this might be the last show. For this, however, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, the Arrakis Company, the people that make my board, and also the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company, manufacturing dependable engines, producing thrust you can trust. And tiaras, as I indicated earlier, are by My Little Pony. This is my tiara tonight. And also, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes. Everyone, God bless, take care, and be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy. Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck. And folks, remember this.